What would wrestling even be about if it didn't have those exceptionally dramatic moments? They leave us all shocked to our core. The adrenaline from the fight itself is pretty strong, but when the rage intensifies, the match is taken to a whole new level. So let's look at the top 10 most exciting moments in the history of wrestling. First off, at number 10, Bearer turned on The Undertaker. We know how difficult it must have been to watch this one for Undertaker fans, because an age-old golden partnership had just been shattered. It didn't come without any risk, just like none of the heel turns do, and the WWE world was startled when the two parted their ways. Still, it was a life-changing moment in the history of wrestling, whether you look at it in a good way or a bad one. The good parts include that they both acquired richer personas as a result, after which the simple notion of a dead man triumphing against all circumstances was finally gone. The Undertaker had been losing matches against Mankind and Kane, but then he returned more hostile, demanding vengeance. The Attitude Era insisted that both characters grow, and in the long run, the separation is what enabled the fighter to eventually become the American Badass before he resumed his deadman persona. Coming up at number 9, we can't forget WrestleMania's birth. WrestleMania was a phenomenon when it first aired in 1985. We know that it wasn't the biggest crowd, but it was definitely the most star-studded, considering how they had Muhammad Ali, Liberace, Cyndi Lauper, and Mr. T attending it. WWE was never the same after the introduction of a rock and wrestling concept. Among those competing were King Kong, Piper, Steamboat, Richter, and Hulk Hogan. It featured Okerlund singing the anthem, as well as all-time famous boxer Muhammad Ali as a special referee. And unlike a particular pop diva, he got the word straight. It was a historical event that helped create WWE and Hulkmania, and marked one of the most significant chapters in wrestling's connection with Madison Square Garden. It would return several times, and we'd all agree to the fact that another WrestleMania in the massive New York arena is long overdue. And we can't be blamed for it, considering how watching a wrestling match over there is simply an unmatched experience. Moving on to number 8, Savage and Elizabeth's marriage was pretty cute. Many wrestling marriages have happened over time, but very few have the iconic moments or importance of the Macho Man and his off-screen wife. Like many other wrestling memories, it is tinged with melancholy because Elizabeth died back in 2003, and we all deeply miss her. Still, the wedding that took place in 1991 was so impactful that it remains a favorite moment for many, considering how the two reconnected in the ring and married each other right there. But this wasn't their first time getting married. In reality, they had been a couple for 7 years at the time, but it was still an emotional event. The wife was many people's favorite diva, and with Randy Savage's success, the marriage was dubbed as the match that had been made in heaven. But just like with any on-screen wedding, there were some mishaps. As the couple unwrapped their gifts, one of them had a snake in it, sent to them from Jake Roberts, and soon after that, the newlywed wrestler was jumped by his rivals. Following up at number 7, no one could have missed Hell in Cell. It was pure adrenaline and absolute mayhem almost from the start, but we would still argue that no match like the one between The Undertaker and Mankind should be recreated due to the immense danger involved. On that fateful night in 1998, Mick Foley in the shape of Mankind went to all hell and back. The initial bump nearly ended the game. JR's commentary commentary was excellent, and he effectively conveyed the initial injury. The second bump, which some thought was a mistake, just left spectators stunned. It actually knocked Foley unconscious, but he quickly recovered, and the inclusion of thumbtacks simply added to the craziness. What's more is that Mankind would eventually lose the match, but not before dancing with the devil. It was a landmark event in WWE history, and many people, including Foley's wife and McMahon, warned him not to do something as violent as that again. And if we were to talk about the present PG climate, we believe that it should stop existing as a match idea, since it pales in contrast to previous years anyway. Up next at number 6, let's talk about Bret Hart's return. We don't think we've ever anticipated a Raw episode as much as we did on the 4th of January in 2010, as it was going to feature Hart's unfathomable return. Most people weren't even able to accept it till they heard the riff and saw him at the end of the ramp. He had finally come back. Montreal was a stumbling block for WWE. It made some financial sense for McMahon, but it was simply wrong in terms of morality regarding one of its most devoted and popular superstars. When history gets written, many people will say McMahon cheated either the WWE or himself. With Hart's return, a line could be placed under the entire situation, and that is why it was such a celebratory moment, because we now had a way to remember the star for his legendary skills, rather than the unfortunate night when things went down. Moving on to number 5, Hulk Hogan's memorable arrival in WCW. Hulk's popularity is proven by the fact that he tends to bring fans with him everywhere he goes. His arrival at WCW was celebrated by a ticker tape parade as if a royal had arrived. And he had, in some ways. In the 80s and 90s, there was no larger figurehead in wrestling than Hogan, and there's no other way we can see the man. He continues to be a controversial figure, just like he had always been. Many consider his booking power to be a disadvantage to his professional wrestling legacy, and many other celebrities have suffered as a result of his refusal to step away from the spotlight. WCW's demise must have been caused in part by insufficient creative direction, which Hogan, Flair, and Nash, as seasoned competitors, should have been managing. Coming in at number 4, Shawn Michaels' retirement. Among the most moving wrestling moments in history was this very event, considering how we had guessed that Shawn would lose. Still, given their famous match a year before this, no one could have predicted the outcome of the Undertaker-Michaels rematch. It was indeed a relatively unremarkable event, highlighted primarily by a fast-paced Money in the Bank fight and the defeat of JBL. But we had no idea that the WWE had been keeping its finest for last. This WrestleMania 25 match requires no explanation. For all those new to the world of wrestling, it is the pinnacle of greatness. Few matches will ever come close to matching it. As you observe folks at ringside, you get a sense of what it might have been like to be there yourself. Following up with number 3, Grey Undertaker's return to WrestleMania. He has not always been successful as the company's champion, but things have changed to a great extent. Although he was rarely present with the title photo at the start, his 6-day stint as the champion ended after he beat Hogan in 1991 with the help of Ric Flair. This is how the title reign helped him establish himself as one of the most formidable heels of the time. And despite remaining the centerpiece of many PPVs in the months and years that followed, he still wouldn't win a second world title till WrestleMania 13 happened almost 6 years later. And thus, in what was promoted as The Undertaker's fortunate occasion, due to the number 13, he returned wearing his old gray tights. And it was a very nice reminder of his popularity within the wrestling world. Next, at number 2, is Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. This had to be one of our favorite WrestleManias, but not everyone will agree. Still, it had numerous exciting moments, none more than Shawn Michaels fulfilling his ambition. Shawn was sitting in the ring with the belt as former champion Hart departed in an unforgettable scene. According to Bret, there was a fight between the two, which is why he departed rather than have a face-to-face handshake or embrace. The fighter's entire career is represented by this image, and if you look at it, he is probably a talented athlete who was extremely popular, which is very different from when you compare him to the DX heel. Finally, number 1 is how the New World Order was formed. Consider the case of Mean Gene Okerlund. It was the pinnacle of heel wrestling, and the crowd's reaction was so strong that a riot would have broken out. Instead, they threw their garbage onto the stage, and Gene got it right on the head. The appearance of Hall and Nash was memorable in and of itself, but their announcement of a new, secret person in the New World Order caused a surge in WCW ratings. On July 7th, 1996, Hulk Hogan delivered the leg drop that echoed around the world. And we're not exaggerating. Nobody could have predicted such a scenario, yet WCW went ahead with the impossible. And that's a wrap, folks. Which one of these moments was your favorite? Tell us in the comments below. And as always, make sure to click that like button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more updates about your favorite wrestling updates. See you in the next video.